class, and we're going to talk about the different chemical composition and ingredients of three different types of the same food product. So in my case, I decided to work with jam. I also have one jelly because I couldn't find one of them in jam. So I have three different products right here. I have Concord grape jam right here, and then I have a low sugar jelly, Concord grape as well, and I have lastly a sugar-free Concord grape jam, and they're all the same brand. Trying to see if, to get a better look at how different the same company makes these three products. So a little background. Jam and jellies are usually produced very easily, actually. And the only difference between jelly and jam, and that's why I decided to use the jelly to evaluate these differences, is because the only difference is that jam uses the fruit pulp, the whole fruit, and then jelly uses the fruit juice, the juices of the fruit. So a little background too is that ingredients for this kind of product are like very simple. It's usually just the fruit. Sometimes acid is used. A lot of times when it's like homemade marmalades or jams and jellies, they use lemon juice. Just squeeze it and add it to the fruit before it's cooked. Or sometimes we can add citric acid when we use like large operations like probably smokers have, and then we will see that in the ingredients later on. What else? Another background is that the raw materials, like I mentioned, are very simple. Usually it's just fruit, a source of acid if we decide to use acid, pectin, depending also on what fruit we are making the jam from. Like for example, some fruits like apples, blackberries, cherries, citrus fruits, or grapes, and cranberries are high in pectin. So a lot of times you don't need to use extra pectin. Most of the time, pectin is extracted from apples. Like I mentioned, is a very high pectin fruit. What else? These kind of like facilities who produce mass produce jellies and jams tend to have like a very very close relationship with farmers, because it is intended that the quality of the fruit is very very stable and constant. So they tend to develop relationships with these farmers, so they always get the best product. And usually these manufacturers also want to choose a location that is close to the growers of these fruits, because ideally the fruit between the field and the manufacturing place, it is desired to be between 12 to 24 hours. So you get a very fresh produce. Another background information is that a lot of fruits have different pectin levels depending with their ripeness. So a lot of times the fruit is picked up and used during different times of the growing and picking up process. Like for example, pears, peaches, apricots, strawberries, and raspberries are better to be picked up a little underripe, and then fruits like plums and cherries, they have the highest pectin level right at the when they are picked just ripe at the perfect moment when it's ripe, because depending on the ripeness of the fruit, you will have different levels of pectin present in the fruit. And like I mentioned before, like what this will decide is how much pectin is needed extra, or if any pectin is needed extra. Like I watched a couple of and I read a couple of papers about how these facilities on how jam is made and homemade jams too, and a lot of times pectin is not even mentioned. So for example, when I was seeing this documentary about like apple jam being made, literally they just got the apple, peel it, got the bad ones out of the batch, and then added the sugar, cooked it, then let the pectin present in the apple do the gelation process with the cooking, of course, which is going to create this carbohydrate matrix that we talked about in class. And no pectin was needed, and even no citric acid, because a lot of times citric acid is also used to help and promote and encourage this gelling process. Another aspect that I found too is that in addition to these ingredients, sugar, fruit, pectin, citric acid, or lemon in whatever you want to use for that, a lot of times homemade, most than anything, they sometimes use like fresh herbs, or any ingredient that is really like it's out of people's imaginations is to love it. So I saw a lady who uses strawberry, then she presses it and then makes it like really break it in pieces in order to make it cook in more surface area, and when it's mixed with the sugar, and then she added fresh basil to her jam. So you could also do stuff like that. Right, like I mentioned, there's like 3 main ingredients for this product, and there's a one certain balance that is like preferred to make this product, which is like 1% pectin. Not much pectin is needed. Like the batch of jam that I watched, a documentary, was like 1 gram of pectin. You want 1% of the whole mixture to be pectin, 65% sugar, and then the rest will be fruit. And then you want a concentration of acid, or enough acid to get your pH at around a number of 3.1, which is like the ideal pH for this gelling process to occur. Alright, for the part of the ingredient label, this is like too small and too complicated for me to show it like that, so what I did is just made a little table. It's probably easier to see that, and that's the ingredients of the regular one, which is just Concord grape, high fructose corn syrup, fruit pectin, and citric acid. And then for the low sugar one, I have some Concord grape juice, which is the jelly like I mentioned. It's not jam, so that's the one that uses juice. It has sugar, it has water, fruit pectin, citric acid, locust bean gum, and it has calcium chloride, right? And the last one, like you can see right there, it uses water, polydextrose, Concord grape. This is a jam again, so it does uses fruit for real, although the sugar-free one has a little note in the label that says that the amount of Concord grape adds a trivial amount of sugar, which is less than 0.5 grams. 0.5 grams of sugar per serving. It has maltodextrin, fruit pectin, again you need to gel the gelling agent, citric acid, locust bean gum, again we have natural flavors, potassium sorbate, calcium chloride again, and then we have sucralose, and then the 2 colors that I use for the sugar-free one, because like I said, the amount of fruit is minimum. They use red 40 and blue number 1. So for this section, this was the taste panel. I had 3 samples. I did a triangle test, and 2 of them are the same, and then 1 of them is different, and I asked the tester, or the person who's doing the test, to choose of the 3 samples, tell me which one is different, and then we'll do the statistics later on. Alright, for the last part of this assignment, I waited for the last day so I could come to Jacksonville and do my sensory analysis with enough people. So I had 5 participants in my sensory panel, and because of we had only regular and sugar-free, they were actually jelly. The jam, the other one was a jelly. So I just decided to do the sensory analysis with a triangle test, using two, like my reference was the regular jam. So I had 2 regulars, and then I had a sample of sugar-free one, and I used all the appropriate measures to assure randomized test. I use like a 3-digit randomized. I use my phone. I found like a software to generate 3-digit numbers randomly, and I assign one to each sample. And then I have my dad, my mom, my sister, and my brother, and Eliza, my fiance, tried the 3 samples, and then they will have to indicate which one will be the one that's different. And then because of how really different these products are, I know they try to do the best job using these other ingredients that we will talk about in a minute to mimic flavor and texture for the jam. But the difference is quite obvious. So of the 5 participants, all 5 choose the correct sample, and then I presented in a random order, AAB, ABA, BAA, to also maximize randomized and avoid subconscious bias decisions like the first one some people choose or the last one. And so I presented all in random order. And since, like I mentioned, all 5 choose the correct sample, I went ahead and looked in the tables from reference from the book, and then for a level of significance of 0.05, which is pretty high. Pretty high certainty, or an alpha number of 0.05. The minimum number was 4, and even if I wanted to do like an alpha of 0.3, it would be like a minimum number of 3. And since all 5 actually got the correct answer, so we could statistically proven we can reject the hypothesis of no difference, which means like statistically both samples are considerably different. So that will be the sensory panel. I use a triangle test, and then the conclusion was that there is a statistically proven difference between both sugar-free and regular samples. Now, going back to the ingredient list, like I mentioned before, the regular one just uses Concord grape, high fructose corn syrup, like that we discussed in class, is produced using impertase, the enzyme, and then reducing the sugars to the fructose and isomerase too. And then it uses corn syrup, fruit pectin, and citric acid, which is used to both as a preservative and also to achieve the pH that is desired for this kind of process of gelation. Now, going to the low sugar one, we have Concord grape juice. Like I mentioned, jellies uses juice instead of the fruit itself. We have sugar, which, like I mentioned, most homemade jams and every jam has these basic ingredients, sugar, to create this gelling process. The sugar is necessary to create these matrices. And then now we have water, fruit pectin, citric acid, and locust bean gum. And then locust bean gum is used a lot in these kind of processes because it acts as a stabilizing and a thickening agent. So it's also called carob gum because it comes from like a carob tree. Locust bean gum is a natural additive derived from the seeds from this tree, and is used in many products such as ice cream, yogurt, cream cheese, and it's also known for its solidifying properties, which is very useful for this specific product. And it also offers health benefits like improving the blood sugar levels and eases the digestive symptoms. Alright, now continuing with the ingredients. The last one we could see in the low calorie one is calcium chloride. This product is widely used in jelly and jam production, and it's not a lot of it is needed. For every kilogram of jelly produced, we need 11 grams of 95% calcium chloride. And it uses a lot because it helps to accelerate the gelation process. It helps with the firmness too, and it helps to prevent the squash type of texture of the fruits, the mixture of ingredients. So it helps to create a firm and a very stable product. All right, now we can move, because that's it for the low sugar. Now we can move to the sugar-free, and then the list of ingredients is much more extended. We have water, secondly we have polydextrose, which is a low-calorie, sugar-free, and a low also glycemic carbohydrate. And it has a variety of functional properties, including, which is not like, I guess not why we use it in this product exactly, but it's very interesting, is a prebiotic, which means basically it's fiber. And it is a dietary fiber that can be helpful to promote a healthy bowel movement for whoever consumes it. And it's also a very soluble in water, and it's very, very stable. It has a really great stability, both on high temperatures and on a wide range of pH, which is needed for this kind of product because you have to cook it, which means this polydextrose will stay stable even during the cooking process, that it hits like over boiling temperatures. And it's also useful for the pH stability because we reach very acidic pH. Also, the next one will be maltodextrin. Maltodextrin is used as a bulking agent. Is limited. Is used not in a lot of quantities because it could provide an abnormal appearance and texture and taste to the product. It is polymers of saccharides that consist in glucose units, usually joined by one alpha 1,4, and it is used a lot too. Because it helps to encapsulate flavor compounds, and it keeps them stable, like the flavors too. That's for the maltodextrin. Right, next in that list we have fruit pectin for sugar-free Concord grape jam, and then we can attribute this. Well, we have fruit pectin in all of them, but we could probably use some more in this one because the amount of actual fruit that we use in the sugar-free one is much, it's minimum. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the video when we were talking about the ingredients, just to list, the amount of fruit is minimum, is like 0.5 grams of sugar total. After fruit pectin, we have citric acid, which is like one of the ingredients in the other two, so we don't have to talk about that one right now. Locust bean gum, again, used for the same reasons that we use it in low sugar. Natural flavor, definitely we need add flavor because the amount of fruit that we use, like I mentioned, is minimum, so we need to add some flavor to actually give it some Concord grape flavor. Then after natural flavor, we have potassium sorbate, which is a salt, and then like we took in class as well, the professor Widrick mentioned that a lot of these acidic or preservatives are also added in the form of salt. So this will be from potassium hydrate and from sorbic acid, which when we add it in the mixture, and it will disassociate and act and uses act as the agent that we needed to as. It is a chemical additive, is widely used as a preservative in foods, drinks, and personal care products too, like cosmetics. And it's odorless and tasteless, and that's why it's so useful for food products as well. And it's popular preservative because it's effective and it doesn't change the qualities of the product. It doesn't change taste of or appearance, and it is also water soluble. So it works perfect for this type of product. And lastly, we have sucralose, which is also known as aspartame, and it has been one of the like additives or chemical additives most studied. So it is very safe. It is approved by FDA as a food non-nutritive sweetener. Non-nutritive sweetener, yeah. And it's sold under the brand name of Splenda. That's how people know it. And it is also used in this type of products because it is very very sweet and it's not very. It's not caloric. It doesn't have a lot of calories, if any. I think it doesn't have any, because yeah, it does not. So 600 times sweeter than sugar, which is like what is used in this type of products. FDI approved it for being used in 15 categories of food back in 1998, and it was approved to be a natural sweetener. An all-purpose sweetener in 1999. It is used for general purpose sweetener, and it can be found in different food labels for like low calorie or sugar free products. It can be found in a variety of foods like baked goods, beverages, chewing gum, gelatins, like our product, frozen dairy products too. It is heat stable, which is like I mentioned in the same case of potassium sorbate. It is very important that it's heat stable, and it means that it stays sweet. It doesn't change its flavor when it's heated. So it's very important for a product like jams. It's also, because of this, a very suitable substitute for sugar or sucrose for products that need to reach certain high temperatures, such as this one, or baked goods as well. It has been, like I mentioned, extensively studied in more than 110 safety studies, peer reviewed and everything, and it is generally is part of the GRAS list, so generally recognized as safe. And I think that's it. It uses red 40 and blue 1, which is what we learned about in the last class. Like I said, the amount of fruit is minimum, so that color has to come from somewhere, and these are artificial colors. And that's it. We talked about the background of the product, the ingredients, why we use each one of these, and our sensory analysis. And that will be all. Thank you.